Welcome, everybody, to the Profit for Contractors podcast. I'm your host, Austin McGinnis, CEO, and I am joined today by a special guest, one of the guys in my company working his way into ownership, Sean Taylor. And Sean is our custom home salesperson at our Florida location. And Sean comes from a sales background. You worked for a national interior remodel company. Even before that, you were like vice president of National Vision doing sales, running sales teams.
Correct.
And one of the smartest guys when it comes to sales psychology. And I'm excited to have you today because we're going to be talking about the sales operating system as it relates to the internal workings of PFC. We have 6 operating systems, and today's specific focus is sales. And we're going to talk about 5 micro systems that we leverage here at Team Builders and what everyone else should be leveraging too. And how did I do on the intro there? Is that pretty good?
You did great.
Right.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Austin. I'm really excited to get a chance to just kind of share what we're doing, what we live each and every single day, and kind of some of the nuggets that I've gathered along the way over the last, call it 20 years.
Right, and you've been learning a lot too over the last 2 years with us.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been immense. It's been awesome to watch your growth and everything too. So,
and it's one of those things where I've realized that sales are linear, right? It's not exactly what you're selling, it's how you're doing it and the way that you're presenting yourself that can really differentiate you from your competition, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm walking into this situation and I don't know every single detail and every single granular little thing about building a brand new home, but at the same time, we're able to differentiate ourselves through what we do, who we are, and how we present ourselves, which makes us the more desirable location than some of the other builders in the area.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that are listening to that are founders that are currently active in sales, and they likely dream of someday having somebody doing sales for them in their business. Mm-hmm. And so that particular seat for you is probably something that they can gain insights from. I know when I was recruiting and looking to hire you, I got to actually witness you inside of a home. I actually called you.
Got to see how the sausage was made.
Yeah, I got to see the secret sauce. I actually met you through going on a sales appointment with a repeat client of mine, and she wanted a small interior renovation, and at the time, I just didn't have capacity for it, and I wanted a simple solution. Ended up finding this national company that you worked for online, mm-hmm. and sure as shit show up, and the appointment's with you. I remember getting a call from you on my way. I was slightly late, and you were like, where is this guy? You went up and knocked on the door. It was a crazy, funny story.
It was a wild story, yeah. That's right. Another podcast another time. But,
right.
Yeah,
but
it was a fun
in that
story.
appointment, though, I remember witnessing something that I was like, something clicked for me that day. And the way that you presented the sale, you created so much value that I was like, holy shit, I need that guy.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't ready, but I did keep in touch with you. Ended up having you come to my house and install a bathroom for me.
Right.
Right. It was almost like that meeting of coming to my house was like
a little test run.
Re-engaging you and just staying close to you because I knew the time was coming for me. And I think from there is when we started talking about you coming on board. So I'm excited to have you because you are the epitome of a great salesperson. When I look through, the lens of a founder and wanting to replace himself, it's often you want somebody that's better than you, right? That carries the rock. And when I first brought you on, I knew that there would be a learning curve coming from just interior models going into custom homes. And you've accelerated through that, and we're going to talk about the 5 micro systems today as it relates to sales, and probably talk a little bit about the team builder process and how well that works for us. You've had a pretty good close rate. I don't know what it is year to date, but over 40%, maybe even 50%. Mm-hmm. And you do a really good job at filtering clients, and that's kind of the first thing. The first micro system in the sales operating system, and there's 5, and I'll explain them now: lead intake, the consultation, quoting or estimating, the actual proposal appointment, and then follow-up. And I know our process has some other intermittent pieces with design because we are a design-build contractor. But specifically to that lead intake, you've taken the phone since early on, day one. So you are the one that's handling that first point of contact, and you're the one setting your own calendar, etc. How do you do the lead intake? What questions are you asking? Do you have a process for that? And then, as you dial in, whether this client is going to be an ideal client for us, what are you using to kind of rate that and grade that client to qualify them, so to speak?
Yeah, so the lead intake is an extremely important piece, and just the fact that at that point in time, I'm interviewing the potential client, just as much as they're interviewing me, right? Mm-hmm. And everything throughout my sales process, as I've learned it over the years, is about chipping away at a sales wall, right? We live in a world nowadays where people have a lot of information. They all have ChatGPT, they all have YouTube, they all have Google, right? They can go and they can research and they can figure out all the shortcomings of, or issues that they might face with dealing with a contractor. And so we're fighting an uphill battle from day one, moment one, the moment that phone rings, right? And so every single thing that we're doing, from the first time I pick up the phone, the way I present myself, my level of professionalism, the information I'm gathering, everything that I'm doing, all the way through the final steps of our process is being scrutinized, right? And so you have to realize the term that has been used in my past was on stage, right? You're on stage. When you're a presenter, when you're an actor, when you're a performer, whatever it may be, right? When you're on stage is when you're doing your craft. The moment that phone rings, you're on stage. And you have to be presenting yourself in the best possible way, right? Because they always say you never get a second chance at making a first impression, right? And so people are beginning to judge us from, are you answering that first call? So every single time that phone rings, whether it's the million telemarketers that we have nowadays, whether it's the 25 different subs that are trying to get onto our sub list, or whether it's a client, I'm picking the phone up immediately and I'm answering it professionally, and I'm trying to solve whatever issues on the other end of the phone.
Yeah, you never want to, take a call and be annoyed because you're in the middle of some task and you're like, I got to answer the phone. Like, you got to answer professionally. Speed to lead is a thing, right?
Yeah. And for me, it's about, like, a lot of people are going to sit there and try to gather a million pieces of information throughout that initial call. Like, for me, in every step of the process, as you'll see as we discuss it, like, it's not about information, it's about connection. Because buying is a very emotional thing, and we always try to make it factual.
Especially $1 million homes.
100%. And if I say to you, I'm going to make this factual. I'm going to give you all the facts. Here's the things I can do for you. Here's how I can do it. Here's how quickly I can do it, right? Everybody's going to give you facts. I want you to make that emotional decision, because at your core, that's what you're going to do, right? So when it comes down to it, whether you're choosing between 2 contractors, 4 contractors, 8 contractors, when you get to decision time, I don't want you to think, okay, team builders is this much money. I want you to think, we had a great relationship with Sean. He seemed like a wonderful guy. He really spoke highly of the organization behind him. Like, I want you to have those emotional triggers in your mind, right? And so with the intake process, that's where all that begins. I want to have a personal conversation with you, right? What are you looking to do? Oh, we want to build a new house. Fantastic. Where are you from? Why do you want to do it? Like, those are the questions that are being asked, because I want to get to know the person on the other end of the phone.
Yep.
When I go and sit down with them, or I jump onto a Zoom with them, that's where I'm going to gather my facts. But in that initial conversation, I really just want to get to know you a little bit.
Keep it light.
I want to keep it light. I don't want it to seem like, it's got to be professional in the fact that I'm not, throwing anything around, or I'm not being nilly-willy with their time. Like, I want them to know that I'm respectful of their time, but at the same time, I want them to realize, like, look, if we're going to work together, it's realistically going to be for the next 12 to 15 months.
Yeah.
And you're going to make a decision based off of, who do I want to work with for the next 15 months? Because there's plenty of people out there that can build you a beautiful home. We're not the only people in the world that do a great job. I think we do an incredible job here, but we're not the only ones. Right?
I think that's cool to hear that perspective. I think it's a good reminder for me, and somebody who sometimes gets really lost in the facts and has seen other salespeople get lost in those facts. And it's so ironic, because I remember first putting together, like, the lead intake system, right? Everyone wants to systemize, and it's hard to, you can't systemize the emotion.
No.
Right?
No, and we want to build this thing where we say, no matter who answers the phone, here's the questions that you have to hit.
Right.
Here's the info that you have to gather, right? And it's important, because we have to gather a certain amount of information along the way, but at the same time, we have to remember, like, if I'm answering these calls every single day, it can become quite mundane for me. But we have to remember this is somebody that's risking putting $1 million or millions of their dollars out onto the table and saying, are these the people that I want to trust with it? Right? And so that call for them is a very vulnerable thing. It's I'm putting myself out there.
Yeah.
Is this the right person? And so my only goal in that situation is to put them at ease and let them realize, hey, you're working with a real human being who wants to look out for you.
I want to be conscious, too, of some of the guys that listen to the podcast that are not custom home builders. They may be service contractors or their ticket is lower. Those are maybe less emotional decisions. Would you recommend for them to be a little bit more factual where they go from, hey, we just met to let's get married over the course of like the one-day close, like the site appointment is their close? Would that approach be different? It's
different, but it still keeps the core principles, right?
Yeah.
Because like whether I'm buying a $3 million home or a $10,000 shower remodel, right? At the end of the day, I want to trust you. I want to believe in you. I want to know that you're the right person for the job.
Yeah.
Right. And we always, as business owners, as contractors, we always fall back on, oh, it's price. It's always price. It's always price. If I didn't get to the lowest price, that's why I didn't win it. Right. But like what I would challenge every single one of the listeners to ask themselves is, did I do everything to ingratiate myself to the other human being to give them an opportunity, right? Because what we hear often is like, oh, I got ghosted. They never called me back. They never reached back out to me. I gave them a bid and I never heard anything, right? In my world, if you're being ghosted, it means that they don't care. I want the person on the other end, even if they don't want to work with me, I want them to know that they can call me and say, hey, Sean, you're fantastic. You guys as an organization are fantastic, but we had to go with this other company because of price, right? I want you to have to tell me that. And I want you to respect me enough to want to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
And have that trust built to be able to say it to you transparently.
Exactly. And whether it's a big job, small job, or anywhere in between, you're going to be, if it's a quick transaction, smaller ticket item, you're going to be a little bit more factual because you have to get your points across, right? But it might be as simple as if I'm just selling a bathroom remodel, or if I'm an AC guy or something along those lines, right? If they're gonna have 3-4 people come in, everyone's gonna come in. They're gonna say, "What do you need?" They're gonna look at it. They're gonna assess the problem. They're gonna give you a price, right? But what if I'm the guy that takes the first 10 minutes of walking in that door just to say, like, "Hey, I saw your Kansas City Chiefs flag out front. Mahomes is coming off an injury. How do we feel about him this year?" Right? And have a 10-minute conversation.
You love the sports.
I love sports, but like, so I'm gonna go back to that, right? But like, it could just
be the kid thing.
It could be as simple as, "Hey,
you
got a couple of kids. I got a couple of kids myself," right? You're humanizing yourself and letting them realize, like, this is a person, this is a human being I'm dealing with. This is a person I'm dealing with, and you're not robotic. Whereas a lot of people in the space are going to step in, be very robotic, and go about their business because it's what we do every day. And as human beings, we have this tendency to forget, like, they don't do this every day.
Right.
So how can I be different from what their expectation is?
Well, I want to move through this quickly. We spent a good amount of time on lead intake, which is great. There was a ton of nuggets there. I hope some listeners got value from that. But next step then is like, okay, took the lead in, set the appointment. Ideally, speed to that appointment too. Like if it's a hot lead, I want to get out there next day, right? I want to show a little urgency.
My quote is always, how quickly can I come out and see you? Plain and simple. When I'm on the phone, it's what's your earliest available time for me to come and see you, because the moment that they see your urgency there, they're going to equate that to urgency throughout the remainder of your process.
So what does that look like when you actually get to site then? I love the urgency to set the appointment, but then, okay, I'm on site. What does that consultation look like for you? I come from the background of this 8-ink philosophy. Happy to get into that, but where's that for you?
So a mentor I had when I was quite young taught me something that it's stuck with me till today, and it's that everybody in this world has a sales wall, right? And they think, I'm going to be sold to. The moment this person comes over, they're going to try to sell me. They're going to try to upsell me. They're going to try to give me something I don't need, right? It's the pessimistic part of our human nature. So we build this wall, and like what I've always taught people is envision that wall physically sitting right in front of them. And everything that I do from the moment I pick up the phone, especially through my consultation and then through the delivery of my proposal, is all built to chip away at that wall. I've got a rock hammer, and my job is to chisel away at that wall, right? So the little things that build to that. Am I showing up looking professional, right? Are my shoes clean? Is my shirt pressed? Am I prepared? Do I have media on me?
You got the wrinkly laundry, like just threw it on to come
Well,
to
we've all had that guy,
that,
right? We've all had that guy show up.
Sure.
That guy that works out of his truck, that it looks like he lives out of his truck, right? And he shows up and like, yeah, he's got the best price, but like, are we going to pick that guy, right? Because all those little things add up in a homeowner's mind.
Again, like you had the first impression on the phone call, now it's true first impression of like in person.
Exactly, right? So like your appearance, am I showing up, am I on time? Am I 5 minutes early? Like it's shocking to me how many times people have turned to me and said, thank you so much for being on time. And they only say that because others aren't.
Yep.
Because the expectation has been set that I don't have to be, right? But by me doing that, they immediately equate this company will be on time. They'll stay on schedule. They'll do the things they say they're going to do. Like it's so little. It's so little. I might be, and if I'm 3 minutes late, if I'm supposed to be there at 1 and my navigation says 1:03, I'll call a homeowner and say, hey, I'm running 3 minutes late. Because they'll see the attention to detail. They'll see, like, yeah, life gets in the way. We have things that happen. Maybe one appointment runs into another, but like they see that, right? And all those things are that rock hammer swinging at that sales wall and slowly chipping it away to the point where somebody finally gains a level of trust and they put that wall down. And then I can actually just have a real conversation with them about what's your problem? Here's the solution. Here's the cost.
I'd like to take a step back. So we talked about speed to lead, speed to proposal, speed to consultation, the urgency. I love that. That's that Amazon philosophy, right? Yeah. Because people live in this ChatGPT, Amazon world where shit just shows up next day, right? And then I also like to bring up the Disney experience, right? When I took my kids to Disney for the first time, within seconds of walking in, balloons in their hand, photo, parade coming down, Magic Kingdom with all of their, childhood memories of videos and stuff they've watched that are like living in their life now, right?
It's everything to them.
That's that kind of like experience, right? Where it's just like Disney can charge more because of that experience. Disney can charge more because every single person at Disney is treating you with such a, a smile on their face. You know what I mean?
It's the Chick-fil-A. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Right?
It's that value.
We all know
piece, right? So like that customer experience in a lot of ways is lived through what we would call our buying journey at Team Builders, which kind of maps out the process of where you're at now, homeowner, and where I'm going to take you and what those steps are that we're going to walk through. Like giving that clarity and transparency, I think is huge. Have you experienced that when you're passing that around, or what's...
Yeah, when you talk about so when we're looking through this process, right, we're talking about consultation, quoting, proposal, right? And when you talk about the Amazon world that we live in, where like I can get something delivered the exact same day to my home, which is bonkers, right?
Yeah.
For us, it's from consultation to quoting to proposal, it's how quickly can I shorten this time period? Because again, the perception of the client is if it takes you this long to do this task, and it takes the other contractor this long to do this task, then I assume you're going to get the job complete quicker, better, more efficiently, right? When you operate efficiently, when you show people that the right processes are in place, when you show people you give me an idea and I can turn it into reality very quickly, it alters their mindset towards you versus your competitors, right? And those are the differentiators that can really take you to a point where you don't worry about cost. You don't worry about price. Because at the end of the day, our price needs to be what our price needs to be for us to be profitable. And we're always going to maintain that. And I'm always going to try to hit great margins, right? We're never taking advantage of our clients, but we're always trying to do what's best for us as an organization. That needs to be set in stone.
Profit is the reward, right? For
Absolutely.
doing a great job and having a good process and being organized and professional.
And people need to know that you're worth it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's that. Half of that is that Amazon process. The other half is, as you spoke to, the Disney process, right? And what that really is just creating wow moments. You spoke to, like, the moment we walked in the park, my daughters had balloons in their hands. That's stuck in your mind because it's a wow moment. I didn't expect that, right? Through our sales process, we just want to create wow moments. So when we do renderings with our design team, Jasmine up in Iowa does an incredible job. Those are wow moments. When we turn around an estimate in a third of the time that one of our competitors does, when we met one day after them and we submit 2 weeks before them, that's a wow moment, right? When you create wow moments, they stick out in people's minds. So when they're sitting down in their living room having that tough conversation of, do we want to spend this much money on this company, this on this company, or this on this company, they're not talking about money. We want them to be talking about the balloon they got the moment they walked in the park. We want them to be talking about the amazing renderings that they got and what their beautiful project is going to look like, right? It's creating the wow moment that gives you that Disney experience that says, I'll pay more and I'll come back and I'll do it again and again and again. And it's not just because my wife makes me.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And I think, I was just thinking like that speed piece with the Disney piece, right? The wow experience, like both of like speed is wow, but also like that added value, the rendering, whatever that piece is that just blows them out of the water of like, this is that makes you the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the goal, is like through this process, through all these microsystems, each one is pointing you more towards that obvious choice, or it's like this clock that once it dings, like it's automatic, like that light bulb goes off, and it's like, I've dealt with all these other contractors, but this contractor continually showed up, did what they said they were going to do,
right?
Like under promised and over delivered, did more than what they said they were going to do, and met my budget, hopefully, right? Like if we can, if you go and you build all that rapport and you can pull out that budget, right? So that's part of the consultation piece for me, is like really getting intimate with what their budget is, right? So that you can do your best to hit that. Sometimes we reverse engineer our prices, where if we know that's your budget, we really sometimes know we have to do the extra work to find a way to get into that price. And I think that's one of our differentiators too, is we're willing to go above and beyond to try to find a way to fight to get you into that number. And if we can't, maybe there's a plan B or a plan C, something that we've thought through that's not just like, oh, here's what you asked for and here's the price, but like, if I know what your price is, I know this is what you asked for. Here's what that would be.
Yeah.
But because I know that your budget was X, let me show you what we can do for X, right? You're providing solutions, coming to the table with already premeditated like solutions, right?
Yeah. And it's a great point, because when people are willing to share their budget with you, that's when they trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to share that budget with you. Realistically, that's
part of that sales wall, is getting that number.
And when I get that wall down and I get that number out of you, right, that's when you and I can have an adult conversation about what is realistic and what is pie in the sky, right? Because for some of our homeowners, or I'm going to use us as an example because it's the world I live in. For some of our homeowners, they say, my budget is, let's call it $800,000. And then they show me what I want is a $1.5 million home. And if they trust me enough to tell me this is where I want to be, I can tell them, look, that's fine. I can get you there. Here's where we start to make concessions. Here's where we have really difficult, conversations about what you can and can't have in a realistic world to spend what you want to spend, right? And the ironic thing about that is that's when people are willing to open up their pocketbooks a little bit more.
Yeah.
When they realize, like, oh, this person isn't saying, here's your project, here's a big number, and I just walk in the other direction. They're saying, I want to work with you. I want to help you find your way to your number, but here are some concessions you have to make along the way. Then they're more willing to say, like, okay, well, let's take a look at, let's reanalyze this budget. Let's look at it again and let's see, right? It's a natural reaction of human beings that I trust this person now. I genuinely believe that they have my best intentions at heart, and they're trying to help me build the most for my budget. So why wouldn't I try to go and find more so we can meet in the middle, right? And it's a beautiful thing. And I think when we talk about this 5-step process, right, we talk about intake, consultation, quoting, proposal, follow-up. The thing that gets lost most of the time is the follow-up, because we look at it as the 5th step, right? But one thing I want to make very clear to everybody that's listening is It's never the fifth step. It's listed last because it's important last, right? But at the same time, it's something you have to do all throughout your process. And it's extremely important, right? Like when I leave a consultation, I go and I sit down with someone, they give me an hour and a half of their time. I need to show respect for that, right? And so 75, 80, maybe even 90% of contractors are going to go, they're going to have their consultation, I'll get you something within 2 weeks. And they're going to leave, and then you're not going to hear from them for 2 weeks, right? From my situation, my system, it's go, sit down, meet with that person. Before I get home that night, they're getting a text message or an email from me. Thank you so much for your time. I genuinely appreciate it. Here's my understanding of what you were looking for. Here's my understanding of the direction that we want to go in. And here's my timeline. And it's in writing so they can reference back to it. It's a point for them of saying, wow, Sean went out of his way to do this for us. He didn't have to. No one else is doing this, right? Again, we're differentiating ourselves from the competition. We're rising above everybody else in the muck, right? And then as I'm working, if I'm sending everything over, if I get a scan of a full home back that we're going to do a large renovation on, and I'm going to send that over to our designer, I'm doing it. Why not include them in that conversation, right? And I'm then, again, sending an email, sending a text message just to say, hey, I know I explained the process before, but just so you're aware, the scan just came back. I'm sending everything over to Jasmine, humanizing this piece, not just my designer, it's Jasmine. She's a human being. She's working hard for them, right? I'm sending everything over to Jasmine. She's going to have everything taken care of for you. Give me another 7 days, and I think you're going to love what we're going to come up with. And it's follow-up, right? We're not done. Follow-up isn't just when you're done. Follow-up is continuing to follow up and follow throughout the entirety of the process.
I love that perspective. On the follow-up on the back end, let's just say, hey, you've gone and you've actually done a proposal, and proposals may be a piece that you want to talk about too. But on the follow-up on the back end, I've had some of the best sales always require follow-up. I mean, big investments being over $1 million for a home, and to some people, the $10,000 bathroom feels like $1 million, right? So like even to them, that's a big decision. Mm-hmm. And to be able to be the guy that actually follows up without putting pressure behind it, right? Where it's just like, the 1 day follow-up, the 1 week follow-up, 2 weeks out, I'm usually asking for more of like a firm ask at that point, where like the 1 day and 1 week is more like touch points, little value add. Hey, here's a picture of what Jasmine, put together. Right. Or, hey, you talked about wanting a little bit of a change. Here's what that change looks like, so that you have that while you're thinking still, for the next few days. And then at the 2 week is typically when I would ask for more of a firm ask. Hey, want to know where your head's at on this. Right. And not doing that over text, but ideally a phone call. Right. And then there's a long range follow up. And those are typically ones where I'm more of a month out, a quarter out, or I do a quarterly follow up. And some of the biggest contracts I've ever gotten was because I followed up quarterly, where it's like if I never hear the word no, it's never done. Then I can always keep that door open. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. No. We should never shut doors. I mean, so there's 3 different types of follow-ups, right? There's touch points, which is where we're talking about like text messages or maybe even a quick email. Mm-hmm. And that's in your first couple weeks post proposal, right? And that is, for me, I try to keep 90% of it not even related to the project. I want it to be related to the personal touch points that we've touched on, right? If I came and sat in with you and your wife for 2 hours and you said we're going down to Key West next week and da-da-da-da-da, and I say, okay, yeah, I'm going to send a proposal over to you. I'll check in afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not texting you and saying like, hey, did you get a chance to view my proposal? I'm texting you and saying, hey, Austin, how was Key West? Did you get to visit these places that we talked about? How did the girls love it, right? I'm connecting with you on a personal level because I don't want it to be all I'm doing is trying to hunt down your business. I want it to be we're continuing to form the bond and the relationship that we started whenever I first walked into your life or you walked into mine, and we're continuing that. And, oh, by the way, have you viewed everything that I sent your way? No, I haven't got a chance. I'm going to get to it. Fantastic. Take your time. I know you're busy. You're just getting home. You're doing laundry. You're shuffling everything around. I'm sure your wife's going crazy. It is what it is. Take your time, right? People don't want to be pressured, but they do want consistency. And that's where I think you've done an amazing job in the past, as I've seen with some of our previous clients I'm going to follow up in a day. I'm going to follow up in a week. I'm going to follow up in a month, right? But it's just about making that follow-up a little personal and less professional until you get to that point like you're talking about, which is where you kind of have to draw a line in the sand, right?
Is that kind of touch point 2 or not
that's,
touch point 2?
If that's a touch point, then this is a real follow-up, right? That's that second piece is like a real follow-up, and that's when I'm going to get you on the telephone. Because the touch point's very it's very non-committal, right? I'm going to send a text, I'm going to send maybe a quick email. The true follow-up is I'm going to get on the phone with you, and we're going to have a real conversation about this, right? And it's, what are your hurdles?
Let's walk through it if you have any questions.
What are your, tell me about any questions you have. What are your hurdles to doing the job? What's your biggest hurdle to saying yes right now? Like, you haven't said yes to me. If we're having a conversation right now, I'm assuming you haven't said yes to anyone else. Why? What is it? And 85% of the time, they're going to say it's price, right? But you never know when you're going to uncover that other 15% that say, well, I don't know if I trust this, right? Great, let me put that to bed.
Right.
Or if it's price, all right, have you discovered that the price is what the price is within the marketplace? All right, fantastic. Then let's go back to the drawing board. Let's change scope. Let's do what we need to do to fit into your price range, right? Again, comes back to trust. Everything's going to come back to trust. When they trust me enough to tell me what their genuinely true objective is to wanting to say yes to anyone, that's when I get to figure out how to remove it. So the moment that they trust me enough to answer that question genuinely, that's when we win.
What's the third type of follow-up?
Third type of follow-up is your long-range follow-up, and that's really just consistency, right? That is just, I'm going to send you an email or make a phone call to you, and it might be once a month, it might be once every 3 months, it might be once every 6 months. You're going to gauge that based off of the relationship you've developed with your potential client. And because some people, like a gentleman that you met at the airport who's doing a huge job with us, right? I don't want to throw a bunch of names out there, but that gentleman, it wasn't, hey, I'm going to call you every single day. It wasn't, hey, we're going to be best buddies, but it was, I'm just going to poke you every once in a while and make sure like things are going great in your world. You're busy, a business owner. I'm a business owner. You're a very busy man. I don't want to take your time, but I just want you to remember that I exist, right? And that led to millions of dollars.
About you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that means a lot to people. And they again, they're going to equate the human being you are and the level of interaction you have and the level of communication you have to what your company does. And that person said, this guy was great when I met him. We had some good conversations. And even though I didn't have any business for him, even though we hadn't even talked business, he still said, hey, I'm here. I exist. I'm here if you need me. I'm here when you want me. And when he finally needed something, there we were.
Opportunity.
Yeah. And so it might be like, I hate the term dead when we talk about leads. That's a dead lead, right? How the heck do you know? You don't know. You're not living inside that person's mind. Until I drive past their home and see them doing the work with somebody else, it's never dead to me.
Right, exactly.
Because if it's not done, there's still the want and the need and the desire in their mind to get the job done.
Yeah.
It's just about creating like a space where they believe that I'm the right person to do that for them.
Love that.
Yeah.
So if you had any advice to somebody who is on the lookout for potentially hiring a salesperson, similar caliber to you, or just wanting to replace themselves as being a salesperson outside of like, oh, you should be hitting this volume before you think about doing that, like what advice would you give to somebody that's looking for that?
If you're looking for that person,
where would they find a guy like you?
Honestly, just open your eyes and listen and converse with every single person that you come across in your daily life. Because sales is something that you are born with or you're not, plain and simple. And some people can come and sit down in front of you and put a resume in front of you that they've done a lot of amazing things. I've been blessed to have some phenomenal jobs in my life. I've hit some really great milestones throughout my life, and I'm very, very happy about that. But I've also seen some of the most gifted people I've ever seen in sales that have little to zero experience. They just have the right personality, right? The easiest way to find that out is sit down at a table, go to a lunch, whatever your setting is that you're comfortable with, throw away the resume, throw away the paperwork, sit down and just have a conversation with somebody.
Thinking of that movie where he's like, sell me this pen.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street,
yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for joining us. Really look forward to it. We're going to do another one about sales psychology someday, so stay tuned for that.
Beautiful.
That is a wrap. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, everybody.